Our keynote address will be by Dr. Imtiaz Sooliman, the founder and CEO of Gift of the Givers, and I'll call on our student, one of our student leaders, Supile, to introduce Dr. Sooliman.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Supile Majodina, and I'm about to present Dr. Sooliman. Dr. Sooliman, a qualified medical doctor at the then University of Natal Medical School in 1984, a career he later gave up for his pursuit for his passion for humanitarian aid. As the inspirational founder and director and visionary of the Gift of Givers, a South African NGO founded in 1992, he has been instrumental in changing the lives of millions of people in more than 41 countries. Gift of Givers is the most significant disaster response NGO of the African origin, delivering life-saving aid through search and rescue teams, medical assistance, nutritional support, water, and necessities. It is also the first such agency credited by the proudly South African Foundation. Dr. Sooliman has traveled to some of the most desolate, war-torn, disaster-struck areas, heading relief missions. Through his work with the Gift of Givers, he and his team have responded to the needs of countless of people affected by the wide range of natural, artificial disasters such as floods, famine, tsunamis, earthquakes, and wars. Dr. Sooliman stands as a beacon of hope and compassion in a world often overshadowed by adversity. With an unwavering commitment to humanitarianism, he has dedicated his life to alleviating suffering and restoring faith in humanity. Amongst Dr. Sooliman's numerous awards, he has received the President's Order of the Star of South Africa Award, an Excellence in Health Care Award from the South African Medical Association, the Presidential Award for the Assistance in the Pakistan Earthquake from the President Musharraf, sorry if I pronounce it incorrectly, the Paul Harris Award and the Rotarian International's highest award, and in 2010, the highest South African award, the Order of the Baobab in silver by President Jacob Zuma. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Dr. Sooliman.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that introduction, and thank you very much for the invite. And it's good to know there's so many universities here from South Africa and from the African continent. Thank you to everybody who's taking such an interest in building our country, our communities, and our continent. I want to make some comments before we come to community type of engagements, what type of projects, how we train the students, what we need to do. We need to talk about critical issues dealing with the human personality. We churn out either the most dedicated people in the world from the universities, or we churn out absolute monsters, and they come through our institutions, in this country, in the continent, and throughout the world. Because our focus is on academics, professionalism, progress, prosperity. Critical components have been forgotten: faith and spirituality. And we need to go back and cry and be depressed and say, it's the end of the world, I can't study anymore, what am I going to do? Because what you want may not necessarily be good for you. So I moved to Maritzburg in 1986. I was living in Durban. I'm from Potchefstroom. Hello, Northwest. I think you also here. Yeah? I moved to Durban in 1974 because my mother and my father split. And I went to school, in Orient School, then Sastre College, and then medical school. In 84, my mother passed away with breast cancer at the age of 42. And then I moved to Maritzburg in 1986. I got married in 84, and in 86, I moved to Maritzburg to set up private practice. And when I got there, the first week that I got there, remember, I'm in a new building now. I'm with new neighbors, I'm with new people. My neighbor comes down and greets me and tells me, I got this Afrikaner guy. He came from Pretoria. He was studying in the US. He came to teach French at UKZ and in Maritzburg. He needs a doctor. He came to buy meat from me. My neighbor was a butcher. So I said, fine. I met Miller. I treated him a few times. And he said, one day he tells me, I want to tell you a story about my life. He says, I was walking through the streets of New York. I was depressed. I was sad. My soul felt empty. My spirit felt empty. I don't even know what I was doing there. And in that state of being totally lost and empty, I saw a man looking at me from the corner of the road. I don't know this man. I've never seen him before. But my heart tells me to follow this man. We have a teaching. When you're in doubt about anything crucial or critical, always listen to your heart, not your head. So he said, I followed the man. And after a while, the man walked into St. John the Divine. It's a huge church in New York, which I visited on my way to the earthquake in Haiti in 2010. And he said, when I got to the church, I got a shock. The man I was following was a Muslim, a Turk, a Sufi, a master of spirituality. And when he walked in, soon afterwards, in the church, he made a zikr. A zikr is an Islamic practice. It's an Islamic terminology that's a celebration of God's names in Arabic. So in other religions and in other scriptures, you would say God, the one and only, kind, compassionate, merciful, eternal, absolute, loving, cherisher, loving, sustainer, creator, all those things you would say. He said, but something else happened whilst he was doing that. In the church, there were Jews, Christians of different denominations, Muslims, Hindus, and people say we have no religion. But they all participated in the zikr. I said, are you sure? He said, I was there. So I said, this raises a very, very important question. You see, we've always been told that religion is the cause of conflict. Religion is not the cause of conflict. It's people who move away from religion that cause the conflict. But religion is about peace, love, acceptance. The Christian elders of St. John the Divine understood the unity of mankind. They understood the unity of religion. They had no issue with the Muslim guy performing a zikr in the church because they understood it was all one. There's one church in South Africa that does that. St. George's Cathedral in Cape Town. Father Michael Wieder, Christians, Jews, and Muslims have prayed in the same church. It helped to do something that when we do the research, we can implement it. That's what we should be doing. So, Mullah tells me this, and then he tells me, you need to go to Turkey. So I said, Mullah, I know you're sick. When the hell am I going to get to Turkey? I haven't been in Cape Town yet. But he says something very profound. You take the messages. Mullah is talking to me, it applies to all of us. He said, what God wills happens. There's a time and a place. And the time and the place happened in August 91. It's a long story. But my wife and I got to Turkey. What Mullah saw in New York, my wife and I saw in Istanbul. What he saw in St. John the Divine, I saw in the Halveti Jerahi order, Sufi order of Istanbul. You saw Christians, Jews, and Muslims, and all people from all religion and no religion. We saw the same thing. But in our case, it is special because this was post-Gulf War. Post-Gulf War polarized nations and communities. The perception was at that time, Samuel Huntington spoke of a clash of civilizations. And the perception was Christians, Jews, and Hindus on one side, Muslims on the other side. And East on one side and West on the other side. And coming from an apartheid past, where you lose your house, your shop, and you are displaced with no recompense, didn't really help. And as I walked in, my wife and I looked at this. Oops, we think we came to the wrong place. Americans, Russians, Jews, Christians, Hindus, Muslims, other nationalities, people from Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Germany, Canada, Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, Australia, New Zealand, parts of Southeast Asia and Africa. All in a Muslim holy place. I'm waiting for them to bash each other up. Never happened. I'm wondering, how is this possible? How come we've had so much affliction? And I'm in this place like this. I understood the power of spirituality when the spiritual teacher looked me in the eye. I don't know the spiritual teacher. I haven't seen a picture of him. I don't know who he is. But my heart tells me it's that guy sitting there. And it was that guy sitting there. And he looks at me, and why I understood the power of spirituality. You see, I'm sure you guys got experience that when you travel internally or externally, when you come as a guest, people will ask you, like, where are you from? How was the flight? Where are you staying? Did you eat? Do you need something? Would you like to have a cup of tea and a cake? They ask you those kind of questions. None of the above. He asked me, what do you see? Because which plane I took, where I was staying, what is not relevant to me. What I saw in front of me was relevant to me, but that was worrying me. He said, what do you see? I said, I'm confused. What are all these people doing in a Muslim holy place? We fought with them all over the world. Why are they here? He said, my son, mankind is one single nation. We South Africans and Africans, we are one single nation and one single continent. The God of all mankind is one. We just call him by different names. Any imam, sheikh, Sufi, pandit, priest, rabbi that promotes violence, extremism, terrorism, discord, conflict, confrontation, or disorder is not a man of God. Don't follow him. Any of these who promote love, kindness, compassion, and mercy is a man of God. Follow him. Religion is not the cause of conflict. We need to understand that very, very clearly. He said, in spiritual law, we don't look for the faults of people. We look for the goodness in people. People may have bad habits. It doesn't make them bad people. Has everybody in this room any perfect human being here? But no mistakes, no faults, no flaws, no shortcomings, including myself. We have all the mistakes. It doesn't necessarily make us bad people. If you think you are flawless, we'll ask your wife. I go back to South Africa. The yearning is strong. The spiritual calling is very strong. Gift of the Givers is not my organization. I didn't get up one morning to say, I think, oh, today I'm bored, I'll form an organization. It's a calling in every aspect. It's spiritual in every aspect. It's guided in every aspect. So 6 August 92, the official date. I'll end up in Turkey, 10 p.m. Thursday night. And you know, for Muslims, Thursday night is special. It's the beginning of Friday. Our calendar is a lunar calendar. It works from sunset the night before. 10 p.m. after zikr. Those of you may not know, but when you do a zikr, you feel the presence of God Almighty right in front of you. It's something you don't understand unless you experience it, and you'll be part of it. So at that kind of feeling when it was there, the spiritual teacher makes eye contact with me, and he looks heavenward at the same time. In fluent Turkish, and I don't speak a word of Turkish, but I understood every single word that he said that night. He said, my son, I'm not asking you. I'm instructing you to form an organization. He gave the name also. He said the name in Arabic will be Waqful Waqifin. Translated, Gift of the Givers. You will serve all people of all races, all religions, all colors, all classes, all cultures, of any geographical location and of any political affiliation. But you will serve them unconditionally. You will expect nothing in return, not even a thank you. This is an instruction for you for the rest of your life. Serve people with love, kindness, compassion, and mercy. These are all elements that we as community engagers and as universities need to apply and understand. Serve people with love, kindness, compassion, and mercy, and remember the dignity of man is foremost. This is one thing we cannot allow to drop. Dignity of a human being is key. In everything that we do, our entire focus should be on the dignity of man. Clothe the naked, feed the hungry, provide water to the thirsty, and in everything that you do, be the best at what you do. No second-hand jobs, no stale food, no expired medicines, no torn clothes. Do the best, not because of ego. Ego is destructive, but because you're dealing with human life, human emotion, human suffering, and human dignity. My son, this is an instruction, he repeats, for the rest of your life. I was 30 years old. He said, but don't ever forget that whatever you do is done through you and not by you. In the academic world, we suffer from ego. Everybody thinks I did it. You did nothing. Did you make your own brain? Did you design yourself? No, you did not. That's the grace of God Almighty to you. the best form of service is humility. And you need to understand you're not God himself. In a class one day, in America, in one of the classes, in an accounting class, the guy drew 3 circles, the lecturer on the board. The first circle was people, the second circle was God, and the third circle above God was accountants. They thought themselves better than anybody else in the world. We need to change that perception, not talking about accountants, but about human beings in general, that we need to understand humility is key. I asked him, of course, and the last part where he said, everything's done through you. All the kind of things that you see me do, and you think I do these great things, is not humanly possible. And I'll give you some examples as we go along. Because theoretical stuff doesn't work. I'll tell you practical things. So I asked him, I said, how come in this gathering, when you speak Turkish, I understand, and there's other people speak Turkish, I don't understand? He said, my son, when the hearts connect and the souls connect, the words become understandable. I asked him, but now I have a problem. I'm a doctor. From not wanting to be a private, going to be a GP, I got 3 private practices in a place called Pietermaritzburg in South Africa. What exactly do you want me to do? And when do I do this? He looked at me. He told me one line. You will know. I will know what? What am I supposed to do? The moment I walked out of that place on 6 August 1992, I knew exactly what to do. And for 32 years, I know exactly what to do, when to do, how to do, what to touch, what not to touch. Let's make it clear again. This is philosophical. The moment I walked out, it came to me, respond to the civil war in Bosnia. The same month, August, I took in 32 containers of aid into a war zone all alone. November, 8 containers of winter items. The chill factor in Eastern Europe reaches minus 21 degrees. I took in 8 containers of winter aid. The following year, we designed the world's first containerized mobile hospital. We, as Africans, we need to believe in ourselves. You see, it's South African engineering, South African technology, built in Africa and taken into Europe. A world first. CNN filmed the hospital on 1st February 94 and said, the South African containerized mobile hospital is equal to any of the best hospitals in Europe. It was, and you believe in yourselves, and he said, be the best at what you do. Within less than 6 months, we proved that we were the best at what we did. So, there's another example of we knew what to do. How did it help? August, 32 containers. November, 8 containers. The following year, hospital, all in a war zone. What was the message coming? Gift of the Givers was going to be a disaster response agency, locally and internationally. War, earthquakes, floods, famine, hurricanes. The message was very, very clear. At that first point, I already knew what we're going to do. Yes, we have 21 different categories of projects. Not 21 projects, 21 categories of projects. But let me give you something more direct that will make you understand even better. 6 January 2014, you see, as an aside, that once you put your commitment to something, your faith gets tested, and you have to be true to what you say and what you believe in. Otherwise, this thing doesn't work. So January 6, 2014, we get a call from Al-Qaeda in Yemen. And they say, are you looking for 2 South African hostages? We said, yes. So, of course, I speak to my team member in Arabic, and he asked, must I go? I said, yes, go. So 7 January, they said, be at 10 o'clock in Aden. He walks into Aden, in a certain place. The first thing they tell him, do you know we are? We are Al-Qaeda, and you know what we're capable of. So he asked, what do you want? You said you got 2 people, a man and a woman from South Africa. Can we talk about the woman first, he says. What do you want to talk about the woman? Can we have her? She's a mother. She's got children. She has to go to her family. Yes, you can have her. Just put $3 million down on the table. They allow him to call me. I said, tell him, sorry, no money. We start engaging them. They allow him to talk to me whilst he's talking to them. January 10th, 3 days later, Yolande Koki is released. What's strange about this? You see, he hasn't been trained as a hostage negotiator. Neither am I. No hostage negotiating agency No government, no intelligence service trained us. We don't have a university degree, no honors, no masters, no PhD. We read their minds. We read their body language. In 3 days, we took out Yolandi Korki alive, unharmed, unconditional, no ransom. No agency in the world has ever achieved that in our situation, and we're not even trained. That's the power of faith and belief. When they tell you you know what to do, we do know what to do, when to do, and how to do. So, life carried on. And now comes the part. You see, up from 93 or from 92 that we were formed up till 2004, there was no using university students or people that were qualified from universities in whatever profession. It was tents, blankets, food, medicine. The only other thing was the hospital. But that we didn't run. We gave it to the people of Bosnia to run. For the first time in 2004, we now upscaled from being deliverers of supplies and tents, blankets, medicines, and food. We now came into sending medical teams. Those medical teams train in our universities. The first place we went, and this is the first place of call for us, where you can get involved. We started off with primary healthcare teams, pediatrician, primary healthcare nurse, general practitioner. The place we went to is a place called Hafun in the northeast of Somalia. When the tsunami struck on 26 December 2004, it wiped out 13 countries, or infected 13 countries. Thailand, Indonesia, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, India, Maldives, and a few other places, but also hit parts of Kenya too, and the parts of northeast Somalia. We took a medical team and went to Somalia. It's also important in community engagement to understand it's not related to medical only. So we ask, like, who needs help? The entire small fishing village came, all of them. And we said, like, all of you affected? They said, we need help. So they came in the queue and asked the first person, what's your story? I had a headache 6 months ago. Second one was in the queue. I had a stomach ache 2 years ago. What's between the lines? You see, they don't have technology. They don't have medical personnel. They don't have anybody to talk to. The key principle in medicine that we've forgotten, because now we worry about MRI, CT scan, robot, technology, will become very mechanical. We've lost the human touch. And humans respond to the human touch, not to a machine. They were trying to say, we only need one word. In the medical school in my time, the first page of the first lecture was called reassurance. I don't know if they do that till today. They wanted reassurance. So all they wanted was a listening ear, a friendly touch, and a gentle word. It doesn't cost anything, it's free. And I told my medical teams, even if the blood pressure machine is not working, even the stethoscope is gone, and even the torch lights are gone, it doesn't matter. Listen to them, touch them, and speak to them. You know, they walked out of the queue. They didn't need any medication after that. They wanted that human component of love. When we do our community projects, deliver this, deliver this, deliver that, give them this, give them that, do we take into account the human emotion, the human feeling? The psychological element is more critical than anything physical, and I'll explain that to you in a little while further. So we gave them that to them, and they settled. Went out, happy. 2005 August, I don't know if anybody's here from Niger. There was a famine in Niger, and kids were dying in their thousands. We went to a place called Tilaberi. And when we made an announcement, there was a medical team here with free medicine. They came out in the 138-degree heat. But two strange things happened in that occasion. No adult male came. No teenager came. They were dying of disease and hunger. No adult came, no adult male came, no teenager came, no big child came, and the mother that came only brought the small children, but the mother didn't ask for help. Something very strange. First thing I couldn't understand. And then I realized we can't treat all these kids, there's just too many of them. So I went to the queue and started pointing to the child and told the mother, they understood the language of the heart. They understood that I said, your child is fine, is okay, you can leave. gave me a big smile and walked away. Did he do number 1, number 5, number 10, number 15? Yes, big smile, walked away. Eventually, they started doing it from the distance. I couldn't understand this. Famine, no medical care, kids dying. What's going on here? I have a system. But when you travel with me in the evening, whether you're from the president's office, from international relations, I'm the boss. You sit at the table with me. And the media, whoever travels with me, I want feedback from everybody. The best information you get is from the journalists. I know you've got a journalists course faculty here in Rhodes. They say it's one of the best in the country. So anyway, the journalists come. Tulasi Simulane. He was with SABC Radio at that time. He was with ENC. Now, he said, Dr. Sooliman, I want to go first. He said, I walked through the villages of Tilaberi. 3 to 5 children were dying a day. You see, community engagement is about getting the right information also. So he comes to me with information and I say, stop. I know what happened today. He said, what do you mean? I said, because 3 to 5 children were dying a day and the people of Africa and Niger knew we don't have enough medical personnel, we don't have enough resources, that's why the adult male stayed at home. That's why the teenager stayed at home. That's why the big child stayed at home. That's why the mothers did not ask for herself. And that's why they only brought the small children. And other children, when you pointed, they walked out because they said, my child is not as sick as the other child. My child may live 7 to 10 days more. But my child will not die this afternoon. So I would sacrifice my child that may die in 7 to 10 days because there is no guarantee another gift of the givers team or another medical team or somebody else is coming to help my child in 7 to 10 days. But right now, there's resources only to help the child that's very sick that's going to die this afternoon or tomorrow. That is faith. Easy to pray and say, I got faith. That is faith. There's no guarantee somebody is coming in 7 to 10 days and you're going to lose your only child or, a child that could be saved, but you gave up because somebody else's child must be saved. That is faith and that is humanity. And that's what we should be teaching in our universities. And I came back and I coined the phrase, the quiet dignity of the people of Niger. You see, the Western world, from the northern countries, look at us as the begging bowl of the world, as a useless continent. And I'm a blunt guy. You see, if you're white in South Africa, it doesn't matter. You're African. They don't care what color you are. If you're from Africa, it doesn't matter what color you are. You are African. You need to understand that very clearly. We went to Pakistan on October 8, 2005, when a massive earthquake hit them. And as I walked through the hospital, Rawalpindi Hospital, well, let me tell you a story before that. As we landed in the airport, the Pakistani general comes to me. It's also about working with governments, with authority, with bureaucracy. You don't push your weight. All this is about community engagement. So the general comes to me and says, do you mind not going to the earthquake? This time was an upgraded team. No more primary health. Yes, we had the primary health, we had the pediatrician, the general practitioner, the primary health care nurse, but this was trauma medicine. It's an earthquake. Buildings fall on people. We had trauma surgeons, general surgeons, neurosurgeons, vascular surgeons, anesthetists, theater nurses, ICU nurses. We had post-op specialized rehab specialists for physiotherapy to make people walk again. And so we went, and all the students are ready to work. And he says, do you mind not going to the earthquake? So I asked him, what hospital are you giving me? He said, you understand? I said, clearly. So my teams asked me, what's going on? Why did you come? I said, the man is telling you they're all dead on top there. The earthquake hit from Rawalpindi to Muzaffarabad, the Kashmir border. 400 villages sunk. All gone. There's nobody there in the mountains. There's nothing you can do there. No hospitals, no machines, no people. So I asked him, they asked people walking alive, have you got helicopters for me to take them across? He said, my friend, you can see our state. We don't have enough helicopters. I said, okay, which hospital are you giving me? He said, the Cantonment Hospital of Rawalpindi. So I look around. Community engagement in my business, disaster intervention, you have to think on your feet and you have to think fast. You make a mistake, your teams will die. So I look around, I see the American Air Force on the tarmac. And Muslims and Americans, we've got a serious problem with each other. So as I walk across, I see this big black guy standing in front of the American airplane. I said, my brother, where are you from? I know where he's from. He says, from America. I said, you're black. You're not from America. You're from Africa. He said, yes, yes, I'm originally from Africa. That's me too, I'm from Africa. No, brother to brother, I need help. What help does a brother need? A brother is there for a brother. I said, I need to send a helicopter to the mountain. You're a brother, take 3. 2 minutes, 2 Black Hawks and a helicopter. He understood the language of the heart. Politicians don't understand the language of the heart. If the politicians had applied for the helicopter, I'll still be waiting in 2024. He decided to take a decision because of humanity, to give you the helicopters to send them to the mountains. And I put my emergency teams on those helicopters and they went to the mountain. In the meantime, I walked into the cantonment hospital of Rawalpindi. And as we walked in, we got the stench of gangrene, the stench of death. Kids were lying around, no parents, no doctors, no drugs, no medication, no food, no water, nothing. And the smell of no disinfectant. I called in the military. I said, what is this? Is this an organized killing field? Will you put your mother here? He said, what do you mean? The CEO comes running. This hospital is being decommissioned. I said, are you guys crazy? All your hospitals are going in the mountain, and the ones that are standing, you want to close it. Doesn't make sense what you're saying. So the military asked, what can we do? I said, I'll give you the shopping list. If you bring this, I'll show you what we can do. In the meantime, I was talking about Africa being looked down upon. Northern country teams came walking up and down. Oh, where are you from? Because they couldn't understand. Indian guy, black guy, white guy, Christian guy, Muslim guy, Hindu guy, Xhosa guy, Zulu guy. Couldn't understand this. Where are you guys from? South Africa. Africa? Oh, what did you come here for? To fetch something. Because you guys can't do anything for yourself. You guys are dependent. You guys hold the begging bowl. What did you come here for? I said, you will eat your words. And the list came from the Pakistani general. In less than 24 hours, the cantonment hospital of Rawalpindi that was shutting down, the South African medical team converted it into a 400-bed emergency hospital. Doing 75 operations a day, and we allowed those first world teams to work in this hospital that we fixed up. Because that's the spirit of our Ubuntu, you see, which nobody else has got, by the way. It is for that project that the Pakistan president gave us the presidential award. Something very unusual also happened there. It's very related to our history. It's very related to community engagement. A lady from Pretoria, a special spinal physiotherapist, Karina Extian, from Pretoria University, calls me. And by the way, all these doctors, they're trained and put up that 400-bed facility, all trained in our universities, all trained in our country, locally made, nothing imported. Everything done in our universities, we need to be proud of the kind of people we turn out. They have the spirit of Ubuntu, they got a professional skill, and they love wherever we go in the world. Before I come to Karina, wherever we go in the world, they tell us you guys are different. We ask, what do you mean we're different? I said, the guys come from other parts of the world, what's different? They said, when you guys come, you don't make us feel like leprosy. Other people look down upon us. They don't want to touch us. You guys and your journalists take our children and hold them and you wipe their nose. We take notice of that. Not me, they're saying that. You take the food and you put it in our hand. You don't throw it at us. When you talk to us, you don't talk down to us, you talk at us. And when you treat us with such love and such professionalism and such dignity. We've never seen people like you anywhere, from anywhere in the world. You are special. And I said that comes from our makeup. It's called Ubuntu. It's a spirit that runs throughout South Africa. As an aside again, I was in Gqeberha last year, and German investors were there at the business chamber. And they came and told me, you got a mad country with mad people. So I said, what's wrong with us? He said, you guys fight about everything. But when it comes to issues, special issues, all of you South Africans stand together no matter what. I want to move to South Africa to be part of that spirit. German, And they're investing hundreds of millions of dollars in our country. But you want to stay here because our spirit of Ubuntu, which should run in community engagement, is catching everyone. So let's go back to Karina. Karina sends me a message and says, I like to be part of the team to help in Pakistan. When would you like to go, Karina? Christmas. I said, are you feeling well? A Christian, you want to go on Christmas to a Muslim country? He says, the only leave I get. So she goes. And she sits there for 2 to 3 weeks. And it's time for her to leave. The military starts sobbing. The doctors start sobbing. The nurses start sobbing. The family starts sobbing. The patients start sobbing. Here was a Christian lady, Afrikaner, white, that comes to a Muslim country and makes people walk. Because this is who we are. This is what humanity is all about. And she brings a child with her from Pakistan to Pretoria to make that child walk again. 2 years ago, September 2022, I spoke at a conference called Seroptimus International. It's an all-women body. I gave this story. I went and sat down at my table. The lady from across the table said, I will call Karina now. I said, do you know Karina? She said, the child that Karina brought stayed in my house. That's the power of spirituality. We need to understand that very, very clearly. So let's fast forward. 2020, mentally, the country was terribly affected. We had to show skills. We had to show the spirit of Ubuntu when COVID hit us. We were not geared for this. Whether you were a porter, a nurse, a cleaner, taxi driver, ambulance driver, paramedic, communities where you went to, we all had to stand together as South Africans to fix the system. Doctors are not very good at administration and management. They're good in sorting out the disease. But they organize themselves, shut the theater down, take out the ventilators, take out the monitors. Let's work together and rearrange everything, cut out elective surgery, rearrange the wards, put in oxygen points. South Africans, nurses, doctors, community workers, all got together in the interest of the people of South Africa. The biggest challenge we had was mental health issues. Right now, more than 2 billion people in the world are affected with mental health issues. I'm coming back to the universities, and I'm not going to be very kind. So, what happened? People die. People die all the time. You die from TB, HIV, high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, trauma, crime. You die all the time. Car accidents. What's different about COVID? You died alone. If the husband and wife had a fight the night before, you couldn't make up. You couldn't say, I'm very sorry. I said the wrong things. I was out of line. You couldn't say the final sorry. The children couldn't talk to the parents. It was too late. When they put you behind the glass screen, you're not coming out from there again. And you're not going to say goodbye. And they died with unfinished business, unfinished words, unfinished emotions. We don't have enough psychologists in this country. And universities insist on training 7 educational, 7 counseling, and 7 clinical. It's time to change the system. Don't say we don't have enough markers to mark them or people to check the thesis. We need to be relevant. This country needs psychologists in the hundreds. We need nurses in the hundreds. We need teachers in the hundreds because those are service-oriented professions. We don't need 9 to 15 guys in the damn government department. Each one doesn't know what the other guy is doing. And nobody can sign. You have a secretary for the secretary and an admin for the double admin, and a director and a chief director and a sub-director, and nobody does anything. We need to get rid of all of that kind of stuff. You want to create jobs, create service-oriented jobs. The teachers are old. They're getting old. They're passing on. They got disease they can't teach. They can't teach new stuff. Today's children are too advanced. My 3-year-old knows how to use the phone more than I know how to use the phone. Kids are born with new chips in their brain. It's the advancement of humanity. They can tell you, and everything you ask them, I saw it on YouTube. Everything learned on YouTube. And they tell you words you don't even understand what they're talking about. We need to keep up with the times. Yeah. We're having more schools, more classrooms, but less teachers. You see, when Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma became the health minister in 1994, there was an outpouring, let's go to primary health care. Yes, right decision. Let's go to primary health care. So we built primary health care all over the country, only to finish and realize there's no nurses. We didn't cater for nurses. Mess up. We need to prevent that. We need police people because crime is a problem. We need teachers because they're getting old. But what teachers? We need a special quality of teachers. Special education needs teachers. My wife is a counseling psychologist. She runs the counseling division of Gift of the Givers. She went to do an internship in Tamil Protective Association School called TPA, primary school in Petermaritzburg. After 2 days, she came to me, she said, "We've got a serious problem." I said, "What's the problem now?" She said, "In the school, first of all, there's too many kids in the class. Secondly, they come from broken backgrounds. Thirdly, there's poverty. But fourth and above all, 171 kids got learning disorders. The teachers are not trained. How are these kids going to have any future to make progress?" Instantly, I said, "Find a special education needs learner." We managed to find one. Put it in. My wife did the psychology. We brought in physiotherapists, occupational therapists. To the credit of those people, they're all volunteers. They didn't take any money. The psychologists, yes, we paid for, but it's a very complicated field. Because we did psychological assessments. Those tests takes a hell of a long time to do on each patient. So we did occupational therapists, physiotherapists, dietitian. My daughter's a dietitian, we have there. My son-in-law is a physiotherapist. He assisted Ricardo all the time. Or others came. And we assisted. And then we put in a full-time educational psychologist, what my wife helping as a counseling psychologist. And then we realized that certain kids can't get into the bathrooms. They're not properly built. We renovated the entire ablution block. Then we went to other part of the school. It's leaking. So when the water falls on the computer, the kids can't work. So we renovated that whole part of the school. Then they needed technology. We brought in more computers and we brought in this thing called a smart screen. It's all new technology. Bring the smart screen. And then we brought in food parcels. And we're increasing the support for the schools. It's a model. It's one school. But you can replicate it throughout the country. That's what this conference should be all about. To find one model. You see, when I go into an earthquake, you have to be realistic. You're not God, you can't save everybody. So I'm also a very cold guy. My wife calls me an alien. And she because I have no emotions. If I have, I can't do my job. So when I go into an area, I'm absolutely cold. I said, my focus is street 1. Street 2 and street 3 is not my problem. I really don't care what happens there. You are going to focus on street 1. If you're going to do 1, 2, and 3, you're going to do nothing. So do 1 and do it properly. And once we save everybody in 1, we'll go to 2 or to 3. In the meantime, we'll wait for some other team to come to 2 and 3. In the same way, we're going to take one system, one example, perfect it, fix it, modify it, and sell it to the world and say, this is what we can do. We can start replicating. This is what community engagement is all about. So we need to train nurses, teachers, special education teachers, doctors, paramedics, Livingston Hospital, during COVID. If anybody can do a great job, it's advanced life support paramedics. They can do the job of nurses. They can do the job of doctors. I don't have to put a consultant to look after the patient. I'm wasting a 2 million rand guy for something that could be done for 30,000 rand. The paramedics know how to intubate. They know how to drive the ambulance. They know how to carry the patient. They know how to set up tents. They know how to put IV lines. They can give the medication. They know what is serious. They can read the monitor. They can do the pulse oximeter. They can do the ECG. We have to identify our resources in a very positive way. So that's what we did. We supported Livingston Hospital with 20 paramedics. In everything that we do, we have to be cost effective and it must have a social impact, something very, very relevant. This is what community engagement is all about. So yes, we need a psychologist. We need to churn them out in huge numbers. As part of community engagement, building relationships between society is very critical. Because if a country falls apart, like the civil disorder I've seen all over the world, we won't survive. We need to change our thinking again, and universities need to teach that. You see, we keep saying there's a failed state. There's load shedding. There's potholes. There's no water delivery. We intervened in this city in 2009 and 19, and we put 5 bowls here in your university. And all those kind of people complain. What we forget is our past. You see, I've intervened in 47 countries, the most horrible places I've been to, where people tear each other apart. The greatest miracle of this country, and we need to understand that very clearly, was 27 April 1994. Not because a black government replaced the white government. That's not a big deal. Governments come and go all the time. It's not a big deal. What's important was the attitude of the masses. You see, the international media came here and said, we're coming with our war rooms. Why do you come with a war room? Because they were expecting violence, bloodshed, burning of homes, houses, businesses, and white people were going to be thrown into the sea. That's what they got, the impression was created. And the world's media came. To the credit of the people of our country, it was the most boring story in world history. Nothing happened, but in nothing that happened, everything happened. You see, the masses of the country, which you always want to make the bad guys, said, not in the words, but in the body language. We are a people of faith. We are a people of spirituality. We don't take revenge. We don't kill. We accommodate. We are forgiving. Yes, you shot us in June 16. You shot us in March 21. We know about Kofut, the Kapri Strip, CCB, Boss, Sooliman Mashlangu, Imam Harun, and so many other ones. We know about oppression, injustice, the Dom Pass, detention without trial, our family members being killed. We don't know where the remains are, the Craddock 4. We know all those things. But we won't take revenge. That's not part of who we are. We are about reconciliation, about love, about understanding, about forgiveness. Mandela embraced his jailer and he formed the government of national unity, but all we do is complain 30 years later. Yes, let's load shedding, it's true. The electricity minister went to Mpumalanga on the 112th anniversary of the ANC. And a guy from the townships came running and dived on top of him. And he said, thank you. He got confused. Because it was stage 6 that day. He's thinking this guy is thanking me for stage 6. So he said like, hello, what's going on here? It's stage 6. He said, yes, it's stage 6 for you. All my life I lived in stage 100. I had no electricity. And now stage 6 is better than stage 100. We need to understand it's only rich people who complain. Yes, 10 hours of load shedding, but 14 hours of light we do have. We need to start thinking positive. You see, 7.4 million people's taxes can't look after 65 million people. It's impossible. We need to be accommodating. The greatest accommodation, don't forget what happened on 27 April 1994. This country did not burn. And that's the greatest blessing and grace from God Almighty to us. Every other thing is minor because you can have the best electricity in the world, the best roads, the best water that you see in other parts of the world, but the people tear each other apart. What use is all that? And that's why community engagement, reconciliation, bringing people together, being accommodating. Mandela said that if you don't want to compromise, then don't go to the negotiating table. You are wasting everybody's time. So let's be more giving, more understanding, more loving. You see? And then, of course, after the COVID came the civil unrest in KZN in 2021. And again, the blessings were made as the bad guys. They were used. It was not an insurrection. What's an insurrection? Were all 9 provinces attacked? Did they attack the president, the parliamentary buildings, the cabinet, union buildings, dams, airport, harbor, electricity, roads? No. In my history, I've never seen a country change hands when people attack a mall. They went to the mall to take free things because somebody told them, help yourself. If I make an announcement in Europe, in Southeast Asia, or South America, take free things, I get millions of people to come to the mall to take free things. None of them were armed. Yes, people died. You have gangster element, you have anger, you have violence, but people didn't come armed to kill anybody. They had no knobkitties, no guns, no shamboks, no bush knives. The Checkers Mall that got burnt, the Brookside Mall you saw on Monday morning on TV, I live 900 meters from that mall. And as the people walking past, a 2-year-old child with a pair of shoes, an old lady on a walking stick with 1 packet of chips. How violent and how dangerous are these people? And then young people walking with a fridge on the stove. I say, my friend, what do you do with a fridge? You don't even have electricity in your house? Sorry, other people are also taking it. So I'm taking it. They didn't harm anybody. 3 days later, there was intense remorse. We were used. This is not our culture. This is not what we do. All those things were returned. We don't do this. This is not our way. All those things were returned and we were used. My wife knows where the people came from. My domestic son lives there. My domestic worked for my mother, worked for me, worked with my children, and she passed on a few years ago. So we still look after the children. So the kid came and he said he needs his bursary to study. So she sat him down. She said, did you take part in the looting? He said, yes. What did you take? A fridge. Where's it? It's gone back. If your mother was here alone today, what would she do if you took the fridge? My mother will kill me. It's not a joke. His mother will kill him. Yeah. His mother would have killed him because she was a very, very strong church person. And that spirituality and faith still runs among our people. We need to change our thinking. They proved themselves the following year. March 21st, a political party in this country said, we're going to make this country ungovernable. We need mass protests. If you open the shops, looting will take place, you get hurt. It's not our fault. The masses did not listen to that call. The streets were empty. If you walked in Amlazi, Kwamashu, and Inanda, black people were knopkins were walking around the malls and said, you dare come back here again and see what we will do to you. This is not our way. This is not how we behave. When the floods came 11 April 2022, it hit exactly the areas where the looters came from in 2021. And who helped them? The people they looted from. God got his way of bringing people together. Relationships got stronger, and the people that helped stop 2021, the unrest, who was it? The taxi drivers, the guys that we don't like. The taxi drivers, we're always judging people. They are the ones who came and stopped the unrest. And people have changed their ways completely. There's harmony, there's understanding. But you see, human beings are never satisfied. You have foreign interference in every damn country. And the third force is a reality. Like it was done then, already weeks before the election. Oh, we are afraid of unrest. Why are all these people in the townships mad people to keep making unrest and friction and discord? Are we giving them that label that these are all the masses with a negative connotation all the time? Why do we always make the people of South Africa bad people? We need to stop those journalists and those foreign people interfering in our country. And this is a call to the state security, the SAPS, the taxi drivers, the community organizations. If you see anybody causing the third force, stop him. This is our country, and we look after it, and nobody's going to tell us what to do. And the final point, you see, this is our country. We survived 27 April 94. We survived before that in the 70s. The older people will know there was a ration on fuel in the war in the Middle East. So you had 5 liters of fuel. You couldn't go see your girlfriend. You couldn't get married. You couldn't go to family members. You only had 5 liters. And you had to do unending business and get extra 5 liters to go and see people. And then in 2008, the world economy collapsed. We survived. The interest rates went to 24%. We survived. We had day zero in Cape Town in 2018, 50 liters of water per person. We survived because we were disciplined enough to follow the rule. Yeah. Then came COVID. We lost 100,000 people, 2 million jobs. We lost 750 doctors in 9 months in 2020, and we lost 750 doctors in 9 weeks in 2021. We lost 2,000 teachers, but we survived. Our economy started growing. Our tourism rate is higher than pre-COVID. The visitors to our country are coming in numbers. God has smiled on us because we got that spirit of Ubuntu. This country is my country and your country. It does not belong to the government. No matter who the government is, they are only administrators. It's our country. It belongs to them, us, you, and all of us together. So let's take the government guys and put them in the stadium. Let's take the university guys and put them in the stadium. Let's take all the public servants and put them in the stadium. Take the taxi drivers, the religious organizations, the NGOs, civil society, police, defense force, all different groups, put them in the stadium. But we all wear the same color. No labels, no branding, no uniform, no marketing. You're not going to know, Uzu. You're all going to know is that everybody in the stadium is South African. and we're all in the same stadium, does different South Africans have different needs? Don't we all need safety, security, water, education, food, freedom of expression, freedom of religious expression, know each other, love each other, care for each other? We need the same things, don't we? So now I come from the outside and I throw a whole lot of problems in the stadium. Which is the best way to solve it? To go out through 12 different entrances, or to stand together and fix the problem together? You see, government is not corrupt. There are corrupt people in government, like there are corrupt people in universities, like there are corrupt people in the corporate world, like there are corrupt people in religious institutions, like there are corrupt people in the NGO sector. We need to go back to faith and spirituality. Institutions and systems get messed up by bad people. We need to fix the system. 7.4 million people's taxes can't look after 65 million people. Offer this country to Canada, Germany, France, America, anybody in Europe, say, take this country for free. You can have it. And they say, how are we going to do it? 7.4 million people's taxes can't look after 65 million people. And most of those 65 million people were disadvantaged pre-1994. We didn't give them skills, we didn't help them, we didn't teach them entrepreneurship. We need to stop complaining and hold hands together and work together, all of us, in the interest of our country, because this is our country. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. You have the questions, I take it.
Yes. You just answered those questions.
Yeah, no problem. You can ask, tell them. You can say it.
Thank you very, very much, Dr. Sooliman. I think so important that you said, to bring spirituality back. And you've showed us when we find ourselves in times like
Sorry,
you
one
did.
second. My wife's going to take a flight.
Oh, okay.
Check why Rahman's calling. Yeah.
The examples that you used, real life examples, when you had more questions than answers, you trusted God Almighty. And just through your journey, you showed us that we serve a God that makes the impossible possible. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. We'll open the floor now for questions. Maybe we can take 3 questions. There's one there. 1, 2, another question, and the third one there.
No, there's 3 alone, I think. Oh.
What a touching presentation. You are a perfect example or a perfect model for community engagement. As a collective, we really appreciate your input in this conference. It comes from the heart. You were not reading it. And that is a spirit that we want to echo as a collective. In community engagement, we are often faced by challenges, barriers in terms of resources. Mine is not merely of a question, but how do you do it? How do you leverage resources? They are so huge. We see trucks, we see planes. How do you do it? What lessons can we take from this good initiative that is recognized throughout the world? We want to follow in your footsteps, but there are these challenges that are barriers to us as we embark in this journey of community engagement. Well, presentations, thank you.
I have an advantage. The spiritual teacher told me, you will never look for money. People will find you from all over. That's the one aspect. But you have to be true to what you do. Yeah. And you have to be practical and realistic. Like I said, you can't help everybody. When you do something, we have a teaching, that you do something, do even a small amount, but be consistent at it. My mother, when she separated from my father, we didn't have much means. But she said the poor people don't come out. Go and find them, even if you give them one food parcel. But do it every month. When you can afford 2, do 2. And you can do 5, do 5. There was no social media in those days. Now we have social media. You can document, you can record. Your biggest assets are the people that receive aid from you. You see, what's our biggest success? When we deliver to black people, say for example in the Eastern Cape, where are the black people's families working? Most of them in corporate companies in Joburg or in Cape Town. And we're going to manage a call from the CSI manager to say, you went to so-and-so Tobelo village, or you went inside Butterworth, or you went in Feleni, or you went to Guletu, or you went to Kaya, Licha, or you went to Ilanga. My granny got a food parcel from you. I think we're going to speak to the bosses. We need to increase the money that we give you. That's God's grace. That God says, when you do something with sincerity, in return, I will give you something. So you can't go to a whole area and you want to help 1,000 people. Take 4 houses only and do that, because you create expectation when you go for 1,000 people and you can't sustain it. Give us what you're saying now. It wasn't happened today. It's taken 32 years. We started off very small. One small area, and it grew over a period of time. It's taken 32 years of commitment and dedication from our teams and people who know how to deal with people. It did not suddenly overnight from the first day this has happened. It's taken a very, very long time. And then we engage the people. I go, and I tell government guys, quite often when the ministers speak to me, I said, have you got out of your office or you sit in office all the time? Get out of the office. Go in the field. You're a public servant. Go see what's happening. The best way, the ears and eyes, you have to be on the ground. You have to be on site, not from an office, trying to write one report. It doesn't work that way. And the more you engage with people, the more they respect you, the more they recognize you. Komani, Queenstown, 2 years ago during COVID, our truck gets the green truck. Everybody knows our branding. The green truck gets there just after 5 in the evening. It's almost sunset. It's winter. An old lady, black lady, comes out of the house on the crutches. She looks at the truck. She knows, of course, what the truck is. She looks heavenward. She says, "You never let me down." She didn't call me. She didn't call my teams. She didn't call anybody. The truck just landed up there. And her gratitude. But how do we know? Because we are in the areas. August last year, 6 August, corresponding with our 31st anniversary, it was tragic news. A mother killed her 3 children and she hung herself. What was the story? It was in Tobelo village in Butterworth. She had no food in the house. She had no money. The neighbor gave her money. She bought food. After a few days, the neighbor wanted the money back. She couldn't pay it back. She took Ratex and put in the food. There was only Ratex to kill 2 small children. They died. The bigger child, there was Ratex, but there was no food. The child's not going to eat the Ratex without the food. She takes the knives and put it in the neck of the child. And then she hangs herself. Now, we are women. We are mothers. We are grandmothers. When a woman is pregnant, she nurtures that womb with her life. Ultrasound, iron medication, vitamin B, go to the doctor, urine, blood in the urine, proteins in the urine, sugar in the urine, high blood pressure. We do everything. The baby is born, the mother breastfeeds. At night, the baby is sick, the mother stays up, not the father. We have to go from the private poor people, they go to a public hospital, they'll take the taxi over a broken road. They'll wait in the long hour in the long queue, and then shut 4 o'clock. They'll sleep in the chair and the desk or on the bench overnight with a child in the cold weather with no food and no water, and the mother will do that. And when the child gets big, school shoes, uniform, bag, lunchbox, everything, the mother will sacrifice and take the child to school. What will drive a mother to kill her own children? Because starvation is the most indignified form of dying. And you watch your children dying. So when you go in, we go into communities, we don't look for one child. We went into Tobelo village. Of course, we have the resources to do that. Everybody can't do that. We went to every house and we found children sitting in homes alone with no food, just sitting there and sitting privately. Did they burn the country? Did they burn the trucks? Did they burn the shops? The same plus no. They waited patiently with faith, living to God Almighty. We will not cause harm and damage. In one of the houses, an old lady had the last cabbage and she cooked it, nothing else. And then, of course, through social media and announcements and media, the food came, the trucks came, the support came. To achieve that, we need good-hearted, kind, caring, compassionate South Africans in our country. It's possible. But don't aim big. Start small, and eventually it will come.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Sooliman. In your presentation, you talked about the need to have service profession. I'm a lecturer at Wits University and we train social workers. And it's so disheartening every year to see social workers that we are training and they don't have fine jobs because the main department, DSD, froze all the posts. So we have a crisis of high unemployment of social workers. But also in the province of Gauteng, we're facing a crisis where the premier of the province, they've defunded NGOs. So we have NGOs that have been defunded, and NGOs and DSDs where we employ social workers. So as part of the Gauteng Crisis Committee, any suggestion that you can give us? I mean, on Friday, tomorrow, a group of us are going to the building to just appeal to the the province, you know, the premier, to fund NGOs that have closed. So where to from here? Because it's just so disheartening to see what is happening, and the fact that there is no funds for the many great needs that we have in our communities. Thank you.
That's a very, very relevant problem. It's not only with social workers, it's also with doctors, and it's with nurses and newly qualified doctors. Let me be quite open and upfront. There is no money, okay? There's a budgetary constraint. You can protest, you can burn, you can dance, you can sing. It's not going to change. I've said to the finance minister many times, COVID has depleted our budgets. The currency fluctuation has depleted our budgets. ESCOM has burnt our fuel away, you know, to keep it awake, to prevent load shedding and to prevent grid collapse. These are challenges that we've had. It's true, a lot of countries are facing challenges. This is a long-term solution where the money will start, eventually the economy will start settling down. Right now, they have to cut budgets. To me, really effectively, they should cut ministerial posts by 10 or 15 posts. Cut down 9 provinces, cut it all out. Wherever we can save money and cut down the director, sub-director, secretary, sub-secretary, cut all that out. And reposition all that money to service-oriented jobs. Our country, our kids in the rural areas need parenting. They need social workers. They need help. We need drugs. Kids, I would say, when I need drugs, we need help against drugs. We need to change the system. There is one other way of doing this. It's no guarantee, but we engage corporates and we engage government. Government has now asked corporates to come to work with them. And I speak at a lot of engagements. And yesterday I addressed an entire South African corporates in an event yesterday afternoon. And we have to put the critical things at the top. We can't fix everything. Psychologists, social workers, doctors, nurses, teachers, and policemen. Those are the critical components. Whilst government can't fund this, we train them, and if they're already trained, we need corporates then to fund this, to carry government across for as many years as we can till the systems come right. You won't get 100% success, but if you start funding one in each province, it's a start of a 9, you know, and you get different corporates to come and buy into the idea. We need to pitch that to the media, to pitch that to the corporates. I'm doing my job, because I know the crisis, to speak to the corporates. We shut registrar posts. It's the most disastrous decision the health system could take, but they got no money. When you shut down a registrar, it means the medical officer below, the intern, the junior intern, don't get teaching. The teaching of all this below is done by the registrar. The research is done by the registrar. The taking care in the wards is done by the registrar. The consultant takes one walk around for 1 hour and is gone. And then these registrars can't become consultants, so there's no advancement in medicine because there's no registrar post. And because there's no registrar post, the registrar is stuck at a medical office post, which means the guys from the bottom can't come to the top. So I've engaged corporates, and again I spoke about it yesterday, that give me 900,000 rand per registrar. 900,000 rand for a rich corporate is not a big amount of money. You give us one registrar, but you give me the money for 4 years, because it takes 4 years to qualify. And if 100 corporates come on board and fund 100 registrars, we improve the health system with 100 registrars. In the same way, social workers' salary is 1/3 that amount. You know, we can put social workers in different parts, and we're going to get dedicated companies to do that. So you can protest in front of government. They don't, even if they want to help you, they know the crisis, they just don't have the money. That's the reality. And we need to re-engage what corporate South Africa to see how we can support that process.
My question is around.
Sorry, I can't see you.
Yeah. So my question is two-pronged. One is, how do we avoid being blindly faithful so that we avoid complacency? So how do we move away from being blindly faithful? And then also globally, we know that youth are moving away from religion. More people are becoming agnostic and atheists. And so how do we foster spirituality in our communities and what you refer to as teaching humanity? How do we foster that?
Faith has a blind component in it. There's a lot of things that you don't understand, you accept blindly. It's a feeling that you have inside yourself. I mean, when the teacher spoke to me, I never expected this thing to grow like that. I didn't even know what he wanted, to be honest, and I just did it. I'm not the only one. There's lots of people who do that. So faith has a large blind component to it. Those people in Niger didn't know where the next door medical team was coming from, but they knew this. What was not going to let them down is the Almighty. And when you let down, in inverted commas, we have a system, it's called testing the human being, testing faith. Yes, a lot of young people have moved away from religion, and so have old people too. And I've done 189 lectures last year. And you know, wherever I went, the first, they don't worry about a failed state, all those kinds of things anymore. They say there's nothing to worry about. Yesterday, and in every other engagement, I had adult people coming to me and saying, we want to know more about spirituality. We have moved away from this. We need to go back to that. My teacher told me that once you are taught as a child, whether it's church, synagogue, temple, mosque, whatever, about faith and belief systems, you can lose it. But somewhere along the life, it will come back to you. And I've seen that happen to so many people. During COVID, you asked about agnostics. The most agnostic people are the scientists. You know, they know everything more than anybody else. During COVID, to their credit, I told them, you see this COVID virus that has caused all the deaths in the world and has caused all the infections in the world, it's a nanomicron. If I take the amount of COVID that caused the damage in the world, it won't even fill a teaspoon. That's the power of God Almighty. And He showed you that there's something greater than you, a virus that you can't create, a virus that you can't stop. And He taught you something very valuable. He taught you humanity. Because we sat on our laurels thinking, we've got these millions. So I take the example of a billionaire going to the most rich private hospital in South Africa, stands by the front door and says, I know the president, I know the Minister of Health, I know the Premier, I know the MEC of Health, I know the group CEO, I know the hospital CEO, I have 2 billion rand in my account, I need oxygen. Do you think they're going to take out a patient who's only got 50,000 rand in the account, who doesn't know the president, who doesn't know the MEC of Health, doesn't know the minister? Are they going to take him out? What's your 2 billion rand? You're going to die outside the door of the hospital. God has showed you that He's a leveler. Money is not critical. Humanity is critical. Lots of people in COVID have seen that. We went to Pedi, it's not far from here, in June 2020. We delivered food parcels. Mother came nicely dressed. We always want to judge people. It's so nicely dressed, why they need food? Never judge people. So the mother gets the food parcel and she says, talk to my kids. For the last 3 months, they know the taste of every plant in Pedi. They ate plants to survive. But they had faith that somebody will give them food, and the food came. It's blind faith, because you can't explain it scientifically. Did you make a proposal? Did you call somebody? Did you say, please, food will come? Like the lady from Kumani. The same thing happened to me in Pakistan. I never leave my cell phones. I carry 4. My guy next to me, I said, look, I'm just getting to the truck, just hold my cell phones. And the truck is where So by the time I got inside, the truck driver drove off. And I couldn't speak to him because he doesn't speak my language. He speaks Urdu. I don't speak Urdu. He drives off, and we're in the convoy. And the convoy turns left, and this guy turns right. So I've lost contact with the convoy. I've got no cell phone. I've got no communication. There's no GPS in 2005. I don't know where the hell I'm going. I don't speak the language. And as we're driving, suddenly I see people on the side of the road, children standing and shaking. That wasn't the destination. The destination was on the left. I went on the right. And I told the guy, that he could understand. Stop. So get off and I tell him, take the stuff out. And children and adults who are left in that mountains where there's nobody alive, got the food and the blankets and the mattresses, and you could see the satisfaction in the eyes. I said, God, I know why I got lost. I didn't get lost. You sent me to the people who were lost. And then the truck driver drove off. I was left all alone. With no communication, no phone, blind faith. Do I go this way? I may end up in Afghanistan. Go this way, I may end up in India. Go that way, I may end up in the sea, and go the other direction, I may end up in Karachi. But which way do I go? The moon comes out. There's a light from the moon. It shines down, and I follow the light. And as I walk, the whole of the Pakistani military is in panic. They said the direction that I went is where all the gangsters are, where all the kidnappers are, where people get killed. And that light took me, and I walked. I don't know where to go. I walked straight, and it brought me right into the camp from where I left. Walaikum salam. Where are you?
It's very clear from your talk that you have been deployed by God. Really amazing. Thank you for redefining us as a country, because we have become so hopeless and so negative. And thank you for that. And this is a message that probably you deliver to us from God. I just want to ask you just one question, because people who are deployed by God, sometimes the faith is being tested. Which has been the most difficult assignment that you have ever had, and how have you navigated that? Thank you.
Simple. My most difficult assignment is giving time to my family. Disasters are not difficult. I can deal with any disaster. God has given me the makeup, the skill, and I can respond in 24 hours. It's my teacher told me. Everything goes back to the teacher. It's amazing what this man told me 32 years ago. And he said a lot of things that I've told you now, you'll only understand much later, which is true. I mean, understanding things now, 32 years later. He's passed on in 99. He told me at the beginning, give 1/3 time to yourself for your own personal development, 1/3 to your projects, and 1/3 to your family. And every time I went back, I said, this formula doesn't work. 4/3 go to the projects. Nothing to me, nothing to my family. He smiled. And I said, I can't get it right. That's the only regret I got. That in 40 years, my wife and I were 40 years married in 21st January this year. I can't get the system right. And I said, I'm not the one that creates the disasters. I'm only the guy that responds to them. So as long as they keep making the disasters, I'm in trouble. But fortunately, he gave me a family that met the spiritual teacher, that understands the teacher, that, my wife is the head of my counseling division. My son joined me in 2017. He's an IT specialist. My daughter is not with me, but she comes when I need her. She's a dietitian. Her husband is a physiotherapist. My other daughter is a doctor. Her husband is a pediatrician. So God gave me people in the family who are skilled towards that. My 5th daughter is just getting graduated in psychology next week in Durban. I'm in Pietermaritzburg. And in the process, we allowed more than one wife. I took a second wife. My second wife is a theater nurse, but the real boss is my 8-year-old that has come from there. She dictates everything. My life has changed because of her. And I make a joke. I said I found disasters too easy, so I took a second wife. But projects are not difficult to me. I thrive on challenges and to find a solution. That drives me. I'm a workaholic. I can't sit still at home. I hate holidays. I work 365 days a year.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sooliman. We'll now continue with the rest of the program. Just 2 changes. We'll have no presentations in the Yellowwood Terrace. The first presentation moves to venue 3, and the second presentation from University of South Africa moves to venue 1 at 11:15. And then after that, we'll just come back into this venue again for a plenary and a wrap-up. Okay, so the Rhodes University presentation in the Yellowwood Terrace moves to venue 3, and the University of South Africa presentation moves to venue 1. So there are no presentations in the Yellowwood Terrace. Thank you.